Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here with your podcast. I have Miss Hall in the place. How are you?
Good, Austin. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. So before we get started, if you just want to give a quick bio, who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of get going from there.
Yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of UDirect IRA Services, as you see over on one side of the screen. There we go, over there. And founded the company in 2009. And so since that time, we've been helping people thousands and thousands of people all over the country to self-direct their retirement and into assets like private equity and precious metals, even crypto a little bit, and all different kinds of assets, notes, things like that.
I love that, and we're going to talk about that. But I was thinking it would be fun, as you've probably been on a ton of podcasts, and I like to keep it different. What is something, a topic or something that they've never asked you that you would love to talk about, that excites you as a person? Something that you're passionate about that maybe people overlook. It could be business, it could be life, it doesn't matter.
Wow. So many things. When it comes to the self-directed IRA topic, I'm really passionate about self-directed IRAs. I'm passionate about anti-fraud, fraud awareness, because it's easy to self-direct. It's easy to open an account. You know what I mean? It's easy to move your money over into it. And it's pretty much easy to, fill out the paperwork. That's not the hard part. But the hard part is knowing who you're investing with, doing your due diligence. And that means a lot of things. And sometimes people just say, yeah, they look good, I'll just sign. And it happens a lot. And then if that money means nothing to you, fine, then just do that. But if you care about the money that you're investing, you got to do your homework. And I could talk about a lot of different ways to do that. That's really my passion.
Well, I think it's so important, right? Because, as I get older and as the deals get bigger, I think when I got young, you were just excited to be in a deal. It didn't really matter who it was, hey, I meet you at coffee, let's just do business right now. And, some of that was learning and some of that's been money lessons lost. But I find myself more than anything now taking a pause and really giving people, I don't have a set time, but 3 to 6 months of getting to know somebody, getting to know who they are, because, you can only fake who you are for so long. I know some people are better than most, but really giving that investment some breath, right? You worked very hard for this money. It's supposed to propel you and keep you safe, right? Because what I found, and I'd love to get your take on this, what I'm finding more interesting than anything is what you're protecting against really is your emotions, right? And anytime you feel lack or I don't know about that person, you start doing things that maybe you shouldn't do, and that's what you're really protecting against. And that's what you were saying. You need to know where you're putting your money.
A book I've been hearing a lot about lately is called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Oh my God, it's my favorite book. It changed my life. So good. So good.
And it's a quick read, right? And so, which is funny because it's about hurry, but the point is that definitely apply those principles when it comes to investing. I know we all want to be in a deal. It's fun, it's exciting, and whatever you got, you're in the moment. Yeah, let's do it. But I get it. But you really need to just stop and sleep on it. And I'll talk about some due diligence things that you can do. If anybody wants to email me, info@udirectira.com, I'm happy to share all this, in an email. So what you can do is when you're investing in anything that's regulated by the SEC, like a lot of times large notes or private equity, like a Reg A, B, C, D offering, those are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And there are lots of ways to check out the asset sponsors to see if they call it a bad actor. And it's super easy. So one is the NASA website, NASAA, National Association of securities administrator, something like this. Anyway, I don't know it precisely, but you can go there and you can plug in that person's name and it'll tell you it'll tell you what's going on. FINRA, FINRA, FINRA is the enforcement side of the SEC. So you can type in the asset sponsor's name on FINRA, or like if you have a financial advisor and you type their name on FINRA, you'll see if they ever had any actions against them. It's fascinating because I know really, really good people who've had maybe a complaint filed against them. And then you just talk to them like, hey, I saw this complaint. What was that about? And there are other ways too. Even AARP can help you research asset sponsors, right? So, but the bottom line is, at least if you're going to invest with someone, talk to people who've invested with them, but the very least Google these people, right? Hi, that name and the word fraud. I'm not even kidding. We had this woman who wanted to do a $500,000 unsecured note on real estate. Long story short, like who would do a loan on real estate without securing the property as collateral? I don't know, but well, anyway, we didn't let the deal go through. But if she had actually gone online and Googled their name with the word fraud after it, she would have seen that these two these two guys she was going to invest with had actually been incarcerated. One of them was incarcerated for 2 years for stealing money. So she was about to that's her whole life savings too. And we caught it. We don't always have the opportunity to do that, but we did. And she didn't go through with that deal. But gosh, that's my passion. I sit on the board of directors for the Retirement Industry Trust Association. It's our industry board. And I always love to run the fraud panel and talk about crime fighting,
Well, it's interesting, right? Unfortunately or fortunately, I have unintentionally done that with my own life, right? When you do 500 plus episodes, you're on 200. I can't tell you, my COO now that I hired, when I go to buy businesses, the first thing that seller does, the first thing the broker does is they Google me, right?
Yes.
And they're like, so we checked you out. You're not full of shit. There's consistency there. It's like, it really is your social whatever you want to call it, YouTube podcast is really your social business card now. It's the first thing people do, right? And when anybody approaches me about being on the show, you Google them a little bit, you make sure there's nothing, right? And like you said, unfortunately, we've come to a time where it's becoming more and more prevalent, right? And what do they say? It takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 seconds to lose it, right? It really is the truth, right? And,
yes.
you know what I'm saying? And so as we go down the road, and there's all these different investment platforms, 401ks, funding, crowdsourcing, it's really getting convoluted, right? And I find myself as a CEO of small businesses, I spend 90% of my time talking about insurance, how to not get sued. Like, it's not really that fun, but those are the places where you can lose it just like that. And I don't think people are paying attention to, it took a lot of years to make the money. So make sure you're putting it with a good steward of everybody.
Locally, I live in Orange County, California, and we had a local real estate investment club here. I had been around for like 10, 11 years, and they were having people invest small amounts, and they would put a lien on a house. So they would say, hey, here's a property. We want you to take your IRA and put a first position lien on this. And people would say, okay, great, I'll do this. But what they did, they trusted these people so much because they'd been around and everybody knew them and there was no reason to suspect them. So everyone trusted them. But what they were doing is having a lot of people make loans on the same property, on the same asset. So you do your due diligence, you check out the title report and it says they own it.
Yeah.
But they don't, but then what you got to do is protect yourself. And on the back end, you need to also make sure that your interest got recorded. Like, wait a minute, I just made a first position lien on this deal. It's not recorded with the county. Let's talk about that. That's where a lot of fraud happens.
I think it's a simple life analogy that the first question you ask is surface. Let's ask the second question. Like I think that could be in general with everybody. Like, hey, how are you? Like, it's so great. And this interview is a perfect example. The only reason why
Mhm.
we're talking is because I know Whitney. I don't know you. You know, I've
Yeah,
researched you, but I don't know you. And so like,
yeah,
but that's how it works, right? Is it goes on
yeah.
and goes on, right? And I'm sure you and your business, you spent many years building your reputation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's something to earn every day. And that's I don't think I talk about that enough on the podcast. That everybody says, "How do you know so many people?" I'm like, because I've been, as I say, I've been depositing into people for years, right? And not
Right,
withdrawing, right? And I'm sure you did the same. You don't build a company of your size without having an amazing reputation, right? Um,
right.
was that something that you put into context? Like you really thought about intentionally when you started, or is it something that's
I mean,
gained
not
over the years?
not really. I mean, it just seemed evident that I better do a good job. And especially at the beginning when people would when the company was really little and they'd say, "Hey, Kaaren, how many accounts do you have at your company?" And I was like, "6," you know. So, I mean, you got to start somewhere, but a couple of years into it, I'd say, oh, maybe like, oh gosh, like maybe 5 years into it or so, there was a bad actor who stole money from some of our account holders. And then I got called on the carpet because they thought I was in cahoots. And so it's an interesting story. So obviously I got vindicated, and it was really great because if there was ever any doubt, I was vindicated because the California Department of Business Oversight hit me up and said, "Hey, you're acting as a broker dealer and affecting transactions." And it's like, I'm not. So I retained an attorney and we worked that out. And they said, "Okay, you're not, love you, have a good day." And then after that, immediately following was an audit. So the company got audited. And I have a great CPA, Keystone CPA, and they went through all my books, nothing to see here. And the auditor told my CPA, "Hey, she's getting an A+ on her audit, so yay, that was good." And then so I was like, "Oh well, I that was really stressful to go through, because you don't know what they're going to do." And then after all that, then one day I was in we're in an executive suite at that time, and the receptionist calls from downstairs and says, "Hey, Kaaren, the FBI is here for you. They have a subpoena." So she's flipping out. So I go downstairs, and a really nice guy, and, "Hi, how are you? I'm Kaaren." We come over to the office, walked him to the office, and so he's, Mr. Law fighter, and I love that. So he wanted to know, how did I know these people? How was I associated? And I told him, and we sat there and talked for a while. And then the same thing. So what they were subpoenaing is weird to say, but that's a word.
Yeah.
But it was for records, not to throw me in jail or have me appear in court or anything. They just wanted some records. So I was really happy to do that, and we provided the records and ended up getting these bad actors put behind bars. Seriously, behind
Oh, that's
bars.
so amazing.
That
That's so great.
that
And
doesn't happen.
at the time, it wasn't ideal. I would assume that it was very stressful. But I
Yeah,
wonder if that gave you kind of an understanding. I know for me, right? I coach people, right? And on I tell the story all the time.
yeah,
My first coaching call of all time, I'm on for 3 minutes, and he's like, "I want to leave my wife," and I'm like, "Oh, And then
yeah.
like I freaked out, right? Because like you're like, "Oh, this is real life, right?" And you're
Mhm.
handling people's retirements. So I'm not saying
Yes.
that it was what you
Yeah.
wanted, but I'm sure it made you realize very quickly that, oh, we need to make sure that we are double, triple checking everything and make sure that we're buttoned up, right? And
And fortunately for us, we already were, and there was
yeah,
nothing to find. That was what was great. It's like it
that's so
just
great.
really confirmed that we were doing it the right way. And
Hmm.
and I spent a lot of time learning how to do it the right way,
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
And my background in, oh gosh, real estate and property management and loan servicing, which really is a lot of what we do.
Yeah,
Kind of we're servicing these accounts, and loan origination. It taught me a lot about the industry, the assets people are investing in, what their expectations are time wise, and really helped me to understand the industry before I started in self-directed IRAs. So
and
um,
what got you so passionate about self-directed IRAs?
well, I mean, I like to say that, when I was a little girl, I dreamed of self-directing people's
Yeah,
IRAs.
I don't think they taught that. No, I don't think they taught that
No,
in
no.
school.
It's funny, my kids when they were in high school, they'd say, "Well, Mom, what am I going to be when I grow up?" And it's like, go interview people my age. and ask them if say, when you were my age, did you know that you'd be where you are today? And everyone says no. You have no idea about the path, right? That's going to take you where you are. And that's exactly how it was for me. But all those things I did in real estate, the logical conclusion. Also, I was a radio announcer for 17 years. That's why I do a lot of podcasts. I
Yeah.
did Light Rock. Let's talk.
Oh, that night. Yes.
And so all those different things I did in my whole life combined into the self-directed IRA space. And so with the self-directed IRA space, we're not recommending assets. It is self-directed. So the account holder is the guardian of their account. Obviously, we're here doing the reviewing and we check it over, but it's self-directed. And so the account holder chooses their own asset, does their own due diligence. If we see something, we let them know. And we also offer a consultation if you want to talk about what you want to do before you do it.
I think that I tell people all the time, right? Money, retirement, those things are such weird conversations to have with people. And my advice to young people is super simple. Okay, my biggest issue with investing, right, is that we've created this thing where everybody's got to be an investor and we're all got to do this. It's like, look, you could have a great job and you could start super early and you could just let 20 years go by and then you have a ton of money. Like the thing is like my dream is to be the bank. That's my dream. Like investors cool, but I don't want to wait on the plumber. I want to, we bought cash flowing businesses so we can put it in, whole life insurance policies that we can invest in affordable real estate and vice versa, right? It cycles through. But I think what people don't understand is as simple as taking $25 or $100 a month at 18, and it's going to slowly stack because we've made it so convoluted that it just freaks people out and then they don't do it at all. And it's like,
I mean, it's not hard. It's just like you said, it's just not hard.
Well, my fiance, my fiance was working at a bakery, a very prominent bakery, and she had a 401k, and they were contributing to it. And she worked there for a couple of years, and there's like 15, there's a lot of money in there, and it wasn't even this like crazy high powered job, right? And I think, like you said, it's just start, like really as simple as that.
Yeah, that's a takeaway from today is just go write yourself a check and pay yourself instead of the IRS.
Yes.
Because a lot of times you get a tax break when you invest in it, when you contribute to a pre-tax account, like a traditional IRA or a 401k is for sure. And, or a SEP IRA if you're self-employed, you can get, when you're self-employed, there are different kinds of accounts where you can get bigger tax breaks.
And when you've helped so many clients, is there an overall like one or two main core things that they're not taking advantage of when it comes to retirement accounts? Or maybe they're not doing enough homework?
I'd say that people are quick to invest, but I mean, what I like to say instead of, if I may, is that you're talking about how complicated people think retirement is. And I'm in this industry. It's like, I better figure it out. Right. So I'm like, well, all right, well, let's look at it. What's retirement? And you talked about some great components, but the very baseline is Social Security, if it's there, right? The very base. So there's that. Then what have you got on top of that? Maybe you've got some personal savings that you just cash you stuck away. Then on top of that, maybe you've got an IRA, a 401k. And this is what I help people do. This is my piece of the puzzle, the retirement component, helping people to understand they can blow it up. And then what you're talking about on top of that is like whole life insurance with cash value. There's enough. So just like in business, you want to have lots of streams of income. Same thing with retirement. And we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. Then maybe on top of it, you've got some cash flowing assets like real estate. So you just keep finding these ways to get cash flow into your life for the future. But the cool thing about what I do, or with self-directed IRAs and retirement accounts in general, is that it's tax-free and tax deferred. So when you make money, you can compound faster because the proceeds that you get aren't diminished by tax, and all that money can go back out in the next deal. And then you just keep churning into new deals as they come up, and then you continue to compound.
So what I'm gonna do, because I already know that 50% maybe I'm being rude, but 50% of America thinks, maybe more, thinks that an IRA, a 401k, you put money in, but you can't touch that until 65. That's what everybody tells me. You can't touch it. Are you telling me different? You telling me you can
Yes.
use it as a vehicle to drive investing? Because I still don't think a lot of people understand this.
I know. It's like the best kept secret. I mean, it's okay. So get this, Gerald Ford. I mean, were you even born, right?
No.
1975. So 1975, that's when the ERISA law was passed, the ERISA Act. It's the Employment Retirement Income Security Act. And that created IRAs, and Gerald Ford signed that. So great. So starting in 1975, your IRA, your retirement, could invest in anything except life insurance contracts and collectibles. Wow. Who told anybody? Nobody. It was something that only the uber rich knew. And I got into it at the best time, I think, because when I got into the space in 2007, 8, 9, during the Great Recession, banks weren't lending. And so the awareness really rose when investors are saying, "Oh gosh, I need cash, I need liquidity, all right, where am I going to find money for my deals?" And they were maxed out on their loans at a bank, but they could tap into someone else's IRA. So someone else's IRA could lend money to their deal, be a debt or equity partner in their deal, whether they was private equity or maybe building a house or multifamily, mobile home park, self-storage, so many different asset classes. And then the investor world just, especially real estate, realized, gosh, look what we can do with our retirement and invested outside of Wall Street. And you've been able to do it since day one of IRAs.
So one of the things that blew me away, and something that I'm very passionate about, addiction and just financial literacy and all that stuff in my life. What I realized, and this is a hard lesson that people don't understand, this was younger in my career, is that a lot of people aren't avoiding it, meaning they're not actually like not seeking this vehicle that you're talking about. It's that they just don't know. I mean, the amount of, in whether that's not being taught or whether it's not being talked about. Like I didn't even know about a whole life insurance policy until 3 years ago, and that's because of the podcast, right? And my dad was a doctor, and we lived in a nice neighborhood. So do you find that it's more of they're not doing it because they're not doing it, or they're not doing it because they're not aware of knowledge in your career?
It's a lack of awareness, but another thing that's really come up that's really helps people is all these meetup groups. You want to save for the future if real estate interests you. I'm sure there's whole life insurance meetup groups where you can talk about ways to do like what you're doing.
But I'm doing what you're doing too, and like you said,
yeah,
I love your layering because that's
the
so
stacking,
important. Because I never looked at it like that. I've just looked at it. These are all the things I do, but you're really creating a moat for your financial security, right?
right.
And I think we're working longer than we've ever worked before. I think we're doing all that. So let's do an as is strategy. So somebody's
Okay.
listening, because I'm very familiar with self-directed using, and all my buddies that do syndications. That's a lot of what
Yes.
they go through. Multifamily, my father does this in his real estate group. So I'm somebody, I've got 200K. Let's just use that as an easy number. How would I go about investing in somebody using your vehicle?
I mean, you could get it done in a week. Let's stay. So it doesn't take too long. So first, if you have your money in where is your retirement money today? That's the first question. Is it in an IRA? Then you transfer it. You fill out our form and you transfer the money. Is it in a previous employer's plan? And if you do that, then you contact the previous employer and you say, "Hey, move my money here." So then you get the money transferred. And so it's there. And while we're doing that, while we're waiting for the money to show up in your account, then you can give us the documentation. We're going to review it, get it all queued up. And when the money comes in, boom, we fund it. Now you've self-directed. So, but the thing of it is finding that asset. And again, you can do that through meetup groups and certainly your podcast. So many brilliant podcasts like Bigger Pockets and others that are just brilliant, teaching people about real estate and various kinds of investing.
And when you're doing that, what are the benefits of doing that instead of just letting it sit in the retirement account?
Well, first off, when your money, a couple of things. So if your money is sitting in a previous employer's account, you don't really understand what asset maybe that it's invested in. But if you invest in assets, like everyone knows what a house is and a building is and what real estate is, and with a small amount of education, you can figure it out because it's pretty self-explanatory. So, and then you can invest in something something, especially with real estate, something you can touch. But when it comes, even with private equity, though, what you're investing in is an agreement. And so what you need to know then is not well, you need to know the underlying asset, but you also need to understand the agreement that you're getting into. But anyway, then you find an asset, and again, you do that by due diligence. Talk to people. What are they investing in? What kind of, are they happy with that asset sponsor? What kind of returns have they had? And then, so it's open fund invest. All the proceeds from those IRA assets go back to the IRA that owns the asset. And if that asset has any expenses, then they have to be paid for by the IRA. And that's something that's new right now. Let me tell you something new, is that with rates going up, how they've been ticking up, people really, really need to leave more idle cash in their accounts because these private equity deals are having capital calls.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like they're building a building or something, and they need more debt or something, or maybe one of their loans timed out and they have to redo the loan. It's going to be at a higher rate, and so we see lots and lots of money going out right now for capital calls. So it's incredibly important to leave a base of idle cash in your account for expenses because they have to be paid for by the IRA.
And I think what you're doing, I don't know, the word keeps coming up. You're not going your route. You're not sitting back. You're just hoping. You're really taking control of your future and allowing yourself, probably, to be honest with you, done correctly, invested in the right projects. You're allowing yourself more freedom, more options, right? That's what I tell people all the time. Life is only about one thing. It's more options. That's it. Everybody talks about financial freedom, but I just want options. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to take off of work when I feel like it, and by taking control, who better to invest in your life than you?
Yeah, no, you have to. And there are so many options with self-directed IRAs. It kind of really opens the door for your retirement. Like precious metals are really big right now. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, all these different precious metals. So you can do that with an IRA. I mean, crypto is the Wild West, lots of risk there, but you can do it. I don't, but you can. And not that I recommend any particular assets. I have to be Switzerland over here, Yeah. So no, but there's just so many different things to choose from. Your next door neighbor could want to buy a car, and maybe they have bad credit, and you're sitting around having dinner with them, and they've got some bad credit because something happened, and your IRA can lend them money. It could be a secured note on a car, to help them. That's the crazy power of your IRA, and people don't know that they can do that. Your dad's a doctor. Maybe one of your dad's friends is building a medical device and wants to start, a company that develops these medical devices. Your IRA can have a debt or equity position in that company that your dad's friend is starting. That's the power. It's really grassroots.
I love that. And if people wanted to go about learning about it more, they want to do that, can they do that on your website? Do you have any materials?
We have so much. I mean, this is, yes, 24/7, this is what we're doing. So yeah, you can email us info@udirectira.com. We'll give you a free 20-minute consultation. We have all kinds of info. There's a lot we didn't go into, so we can go deep, on the phone. If anybody who has more questions, happy to go deep and really, really delve into your questions.
I think this podcast is predicated on the fact that we're seeking out every corner of the universe for options, right? What I realize is when I hear something, it intrigues me, and then I study more, right? And I think what I hope, and this is just me, I don't get political out here on my podcast, but if you were my age and younger, I would be concerned about Social Security, and I would take control of your own future. And this is a way to do that. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not dipping my toe in the water. I'm very careful to be careful. But for me, I never had really a corporate job, so it's never really been on my radar to worry about a 401k or anything like that. That's not my thing. But I know that it'll be something that I use as a vehicle in my later years that I've been putting money in for a couple
Yeah.
years, because it really allows you. Um, but what my advice to people would be, set it and forget it, right? Come up with a number that you can do.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, I know what's taken out, but I don't pay attention to it. It's just gone out.
The automatic withdrawal. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that you have seen so many people's lives change by taking control of
Yeah.
their retirement.
Yes. Yes.
I love
Yeah,
that.
it's incredible. And like you say, we can't really rely on other people to take care of us. I mean, we really do have to
Mhm.
be responsible for ourselves. And you can set and forget the contributions, but you can't set and forget your retirement. You have to be in there really
Yes.
paying attention to it. You don't have a child and just set it and forget it. Oh, he'll be fine. She'll be fine. She's a human, she'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, you have to take care of them. You have to take care of it.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank
Guys,
you.
we're gonna have the link in the show. So if you want to check out
Mhm.
any of the content, reach out, send it to a friend. We'll see you next time, guys.